Michael Brown was nominated by President Bush to a number of Homeland Security positions and twice confirmed by the Senate.
Earlier this evening, I spoke with Mike Brown, the director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. He's coordinating disaster relief of a dozen federal agencies and the American Red Cross.
All right, former FEMA Director Michael Brown, thank you so much for joining us.
Michael Brown, former FEMA Director. Thank you, Michael, as always.
And now, The Michael Brown Show on BCR.
Welcome, everybody, to The Michael Brown Show on BCR. My name's Michael Brown. I'm the former Undersecretary of Homeland Security and Director of FEMA. I am a partner owner of the Blue Cell, along with our Managing Director and founder, Todd Manns, who is on with us today. Todd, welcome to the program. What we want to do today is we want to talk about what the Blue Cell is doing in conjunction with Weston Distance Learning. It's a great new program. So Todd, I would ask you at this time to introduce the good folks from Weston Distance Learning, and we'll take it from there.
So I want to obviously welcome folks to the show, and I don't get on the show very often, so this is kind of.
I don't let you on very often, so this is.
Don't let me on very often at all. Our relationship with Weston is a unique one. We've been talking about it for some time. We're obviously both based in the same state with those folks in Fort Collins, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves individually, but I will say this right off the top. It's been a fantastic ride to put this together, and obviously our timing couldn't be better. So let me go ahead and turn it over to Dan, and he can give us a few pointers and some ideas about who he is and what he does and the rest of his team there.
Sure. Yes. Hi, Michael and Todd. Thanks for having us today. My name is Dan Thomas. I'm the CFO of Weston, and I have Janet beside me, and let you talk a little about yourself.
I am Janet Perry. I am the Vice President of Academics and Compliance for USCI.
Well, welcome to both of you. Glad to have you aboard. So let me take Janet and Dan, let me ask you. I'd like for you to explain to the audience, first, generally, the advantage of distance learning. And then once we do that, then let's talk about the advantages of distance learning in the context of what we have going on right now with the coronavirus. But first, talk about it generally.
Sure. Of course, one of the main benefits of distance learning is studying at home. And you can study at your own pace. You can go back and review specific content if you need to understand, so you can learn the content instead of going at somebody else's pace in a classroom. You can reread as much as you need. You can practice the work as much as you need to. You can do it on your own schedule. So if you're working a 12-hour shift during the day and you need to be working on it at night at 9 p.m., you can work on it at night at 9 p.m. And you can also, I think, more easily just make it a lifestyle choice for you. You can schedule school around your life instead of scheduling life around your school is the primary thing. Distance education is a very solid way of learning. You have to be motivated to be able to learn from home. And so generally people who can make it through a distance education program fare better in the workforce because they are dedicated. They have shown that they are motivated to do something in an independent fashion, as opposed to having somebody consistently lead them in a classroom environment.
So Dan, let me ask you, before we go to the current situation, let me ask you, can you tell the audience a little bit about Weston Distance Learning? Tell us about the company.
Sure. Yeah, we've been in business for about 40 years, and we have degree, non-degree. Yeah. And so we have degree and non-degree programs, and what that allows us to do is provide flexibility to students. So if they want career-focused learning and programs that only take 9 to 12 months, they can do that. They can learn at their own pace. And also on the flip side of that, we have degree programs just like any other university, accounting, business degrees. So people can learn at their own pace and the flexibility of their own home, and still take care of their family and get that distance education that they need.
I'm just congratulations on 40 years of being in business. That's excellent. So let me go to both Dan and Janet now and ask you, so as we're recording this on March 25, we'll post it in about a week.
Mm-hmm.
But as we speak today, a lot of Colorado and a lot of the country is on self-quarantine and some is mandatory quarantine. Tell me about the advantages of distance learning in this kind of environment.
Absolutely. One of the biggest benefits is we can provide all the education from a distance. We don't have to ship you textbooks. Your textbooks are online and readily available to you anytime. Faculty support you also from an online environment. You have access to all school resources, student support resources. Everybody is working at home because this is what we do and what we know how to do. So everybody's able to work from a distance in supporting students working from a distance while they maintain the same service and education they would receive otherwise. We develop our own curriculum specifically to work for a distance education sphere. That means that we write things step by step. So we try to bridge the gap of an instructor being directly in a classroom and a student can say, okay, step one, I read this information. Step two, I go and I do this practice exercise to see if I learned this information. Step three, I check the answers for my practice exercise to see what I still need to work on and how well I did with attaining this information. So with a school like us who has worked in distance education for years, we know how to bridge the gap to the student at home. We know how to make sure they feel included and part of something at a time where we're all feeling distance from each other. We know how to provide that instructional support and let them know that we are still here.
Let me interrupt and jump on that because I think that's a really important point. When you say, don't let me put words in your mouth, but here's what I heard, is that you have systems in place so that the students can feel connected to what they're doing. Is that true with the student and the instructor and the student and other students? I mean, how does that connection work?
It's with the student and the instructor. It's also with the student and our support services. So our student services department, our graduate counseling department. Students can go online and we have within our student portal a way for students to interact with each other as well. So students can list common interests and they can list which course they're in and they can decide who they want to interact with on that as well. It's kind of our own type of social media that we've created for students to interact with each other. So they decide who they want to talk to.
Yeah, so could I create, I remember in law school, we had different, we had small study groups. So can you create like on your social media like platform, can I create a study group?
Sure.
Most definitely.
If that is what you want to do, absolutely. We have many students who want to interact with other students. We also have some students who really prefer to do this on their own. And so that's one of the benefits of this type of education is you can kind of make it fit what works best for you as opposed to going to a typical classroom where this is how it is and there's only one way to do it. So as Dan said at the beginning, flexibility.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I suppose over a 40-year span of being in business, you've really fine-tuned that so that it works well for the students and the instructors.
Yes,
that's right. And I want to jump in. One more aspect that what's really important to us is the availability of all this education to prospective students. Courses for our USCI certificate courses actually start at about $800 and they go up. And so the availability to just about anybody during this crisis is there. And so I really pride ourselves on offering quality education at an affordable price.
I think one other thing that I would point out is there's a lot of schools right now trying to figure out how to go online for the first time. I attended a state meeting yesterday for one of our school renewals, and we were the 7th one on the agenda. All 6 schools ahead of us received conditional approval because they did not have appropriate measures in place at that time to accommodate distance education or students who are on a stay-at-home order. We were the first ones out of that 7 who passed without a problem because this is what we do. And one of the ways we do it is, schools use Blackboard, or they try to find some other what we call LMS, learning management system, to host their education, their content on. We write our own, and we write it specifically because it is easier for students to navigate as opposed to trying to figure out a whole bunch of different things on a new program. We want the student to focus on the education itself, not how to figure out how to use the software to get to the education.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
It's a great point. Well, Todd, let me go back to you for a second.
Okay.
So explain to the audience kind of this new partnership that we have with Weston. What's that about?
Well, I'd love to sit here and tell you I was some kind of genius and came up with let's go work with Weston. We obviously have a connection with the company directly through my daughter-in-law. But here's what is I think really important to emphasize. There are going to be a lot of folks, just as you guys are talking, that are going to try to jump into this market. And at the Blue Cell, we are always wanting to do the best job we can for our customers. Our business generally has been traditional out in the field training. So when the opportunity really presented itself about 6-8 months ago to get into this conversation, we did some due diligence, and you cannot be in business for 40 years and not know what you're doing and not figure a lot of things out. So for us, it was a natural or seamless thing that we wanted to do to work with Weston because of exactly what Janet and Dan are talking about. And more importantly, there are systems out there that predate this latest incident that are traditional LMS. And we definitely wanted to go at least a step beyond that, because it is great to be able to work at your own pace and maybe not have to leave your house, but you do have to have an element of that connection. So that was exactly why we started to put together a series of courses that would be traditional Homeland Security, emergency management, crisis or consequence management courses, but put them in this new context, opposed to just taking a course directly from, let's say, a federal website where you don't interact with anyone. We needed to have a happy medium between that ability to access the information, but also have the ability to interact with counterparts and colleagues. I can tell you in the last 2 weeks, I'm probably taking 50 to 60 phone calls a day from our normal customer base with just general questions about what they're doing, how they're organizing things that we've talked about in the classroom before. This is a force multiplier, whether you're in an incident or not, to be able to reach out to a community of folks that are experiencing the same thing, have already made some of those same mistakes, or can share information. So our project, BravoCharlieReady.com, is an online learning and management system that we're going to be doing with Weston specifically, and it'll be under their U.S. Career Institute platform, the one that we've been talking about. So we really feel like we're bringing the best of all worlds with curriculum that is pertinent, shortened curriculum from some of the traditional curriculum that's out there, having the access to it with a partner that's done it before last week, and having that ability to communicate with us and communicate with other students or other people who are going through those courses and curriculums. So that's why we are really, really excited about this partnership.
Well, I can say that obviously I'm biased, but it's clearly a great opportunity for people who want to get into emergency management, who want to understand ICS or whatever else it might be, who don't have access, or to your point, Todd, not to be critical, but this allows students to interact with each other. And as you said, it's not just going on a website and just reading stuff and taking tests. It's actually interacting. And I think that provides a much more robust learning system than what other people are currently offering.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah, and we are finding, just to kind of echo what you said, in our existing content, we have medical billing, medical coding, medical assisting, we are seeing so many more people submitting assignments right now because they are at home and they are able to do this. And I think it is a very tough time for society to be socially distanced. We're not built to be distanced from each other, and to have something that they can do that is productive at home, I think is beneficial.
I think you're exactly right, Janet. It's being productive. It's doing something that benefits the individual personally, but also based on the way you have it set up, they can still interact with other people, even though it might be, through the computer. At least they can have interaction and discussions, and they can talk about not just what they're studying, but they can also talk about their frustrations of being isolated.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, you can be part of something.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. So let me just conclude by saying that on behalf of the Blue Cell, we're really happy to be partnered with you. And I would say to all of the Blue Cell customers out there, really go check it out. Check it out. Go to thebluecell.com and then check out our media site, bravocharlieready.com. I think you'll find what we're doing with Weston is innovative. It's out front. It's something that nobody else is doing. And I'm really happy to be a part of it. So to Janet and Dan, thank you for being a part of it. Todd, thank you for your innovation and coming up with this great idea. And I'm happy to be a part of it. So thanks to all of you, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Michael.
The Blue Cell and the Michael Brown Show on BCR thank the following advertisers and collaborators: